Mobile County Sheriff's Office, Operator 4.
This controversy began 2 years ago when the board approved a $40 million contract with Harris Corporation. The contract was intended to upgrade radio systems and towers for first responders and emergency communicators within the Mobile County Communications District. The 911 board, which approves operations for the Communications District, has been at odds about what some call a pricey contract since its inception. Board member Trey Oliver says the way board members brought it on board is suspicious.
It was a barely legally advertised contract. Yeah, it was technically legal, but it was barely legal, and it was at the very minimum amount of time.
Oliver tells me the contract is a waste of taxpayer money.
To be quite frank with you, this contract would be like a poster child for not necessarily bad government, but wasteful spending.
Some 1,000 radios sit unused here in this Hurricane Electronics warehouse in Chickasaw. Oliver tells me those radios are valued at some $5 million, and he doesn't understand why they haven't been installed in any law enforcement vehicles yet. Gary Tanner, director of the Mobile County Communications District, tells me he's working to fix the problem.
I'm going to visit with the powers to be at Hurricane Electronics and try to expedite the installation of more of those radios.
But that's not the only issue at hand. A tower like this one, owned by the Communications District, has been used by Hurricane Electronics without paying the district for its use.
We've got a private company that had an antenna on one of our towers, and they were charging other people for the use of that antenna. So they're making profit on an antenna on our tower, and they're not paying us anything for it. To me, that's unethical.
Tanner says he has notified the company to remove the antenna within 30 days and to reimburse the Communications District for any income that should have been paid to it. The contract also allotted for $1.5 million worth of outdated radio software known as Open Sky. Board members are looking to get that $1.5 million back, but as of right now, Oliver tells me that's money gone to waste as well. I asked Tanner about his opinion.
With the entire $40 million contract, you don't feel at all that any tax dollars were wasted so far?
Well, no, ma'am. It was contracted for that amount of money. And the board all agreed that we move forward, and the majority decided, and that's what we're doing.
Tanner tells me overall the contract has been a vital asset to the citizens of Mobile County.
We now have the city and the county on one radio system. Before we implemented this 700 megahertz project, a chase scene coming out of Mobile, the city of Mobile would get to the county line and could communicate with the people in the county, the deputy sheriffs. Now that technology is in place. We can move forward with that. That's probably one of the greatest things we have.
Mobile County 911 Board's $40 million contract with Harris Corp is now under investigation by an independent review panel, following a unanimous vote by the board. One person that investigation panel wants to speak with is Mobile County employee Eric Lindsley, who's the director for County Public Safety Communications. After numerous attempts to track Lindsley down myself, I reached out to County Public Relations Director Nancy Johnson for help, but instead I was directed to Mobile County Attorney Jay Ross.
With all due respect, I'm glad that I'm able to speak here with you today, but I did ask Nancy if I would be able to speak with Mr. Lindsley, and she said, let me see what I can do, and now I'm sitting here speaking with you. Why can't Mr. Lindsley speak for himself today?
It is our anticipation today that Mr. Lindsley be made available so you and the media can speak with him. You know, we have this request by the board's independent panel of 4 people, and we're trying to formulate our responses for them and try to find out the proper timing, because I think we need to give them that information as well.
Lindsley has been under fire after my reports uncovered his close involvement with Harris Corp. When Lindsley was writing the specifications for the contract, he was serving as president for the Harris Wireless Users Board, a nonprofit group of Harris consumers who hold conferences every year discussing Harris products.
No, not while you have an ongoing procurement, especially one of that magnitude.
911 board consultant Nick Tusa said Lindsley's involvement on that board while writing the specs was inappropriate, but Ross had a different take.
I'm familiar with that based on what has arisen in the media with respect to Mr. Lindsay's involvement. Prior to that, I didn't know they even had a user group. But the user group is not affiliated in any particular way with Harris Communication, and I don't find it improper at all for Mr. Lindsay to be on that board while he was doing what he was doing.
So you don't feel like it's a group that's pushing Harris products?
I'm sure it's not.
You don't think that there's any kind of conflict of interest there?
I don't see it, based on the information I have, that there is not a conflict of interest.
Now, Fox 10 News investigative reporter Katie Weiss is in our newsroom with the story.
It's been several months of turmoil, but the 911 board tells me it's finally starting to feel a breath of fresh air.
2 years ago, the Mobile County 911 Board signed a nearly $40 million contract with Harris Corporation that was meant to improve emergency response communications. But as the contract was implemented into the 911 system, board members began noticing what they felt to be troubling flaws. So 3 months ago, board members voted unanimously to launch an independent investigation into the contract, unilaterally halting all payments to Harris. That's when I jumped on board to investigate how your tax dollars were being spent. While I continued to dig and expose, the 911 board's attorney continued back and forth negotiations with Harris in aims to come to a more cost-efficient contract for the taxpayers. Today, the board finally negotiated the contract they felt should have been put in place 2 years ago.
Instead of negotiating the contract on the front end, which is the way it should have been handled, we sort of negotiated the contract on the back end. But you know, whenever a major project, and a $40 million project is a major project, whenever it is 2 years in progress and you shut it down and you're able to save about, I don't know, approximately 20% on the remaining budget, that's a darn good day.
Board member Trey Oliver credits Fox 10 News Investigates for exposing the wasteful features of the contract, which ultimately helped move negotiations with Harris forward.
Well, I want to say that we would not be here today, and that vote probably would not have happened if we had not had the public on our side. And the only reason we have the public on our side is because of Fox 10's continuous, consistent reporting on this issue.
Board member Shane Stringer said these negotiations have been a long time coming.
Tickled to death at the progress we've made. The beneficiaries here is going to be the taxpayers. We're saving almost $5 million in this project of taxpayer money, so that's awesome.
So what was cut? The biggest feature was software known as Open Sky, which Stringer said no one needed in the first place.
Which was information or technology that would not be used by any of the agencies in Mobile County. So being able to eliminate that and save the $4.1 million on that alone was worth all of the efforts.
Remember those added costs in a change order? A consultant for the board said negotiations helped cut unnecessary additions.
One of the important parts of the negotiation was making sure the ground rules were set on how change orders were to be accomplished in the future, and that the one that was going to be initiating a change order request would be the district, not the vendor.
With major cuts also came some added benefits. A comprehensive training program for the new system was thrown into the deal.
Calls to Harris for comment so far have not been returned. The board isn't out of hot water just yet. An independent investigation into the contract has been completed, but board members now need to review the findings and decide if any interdisciplinary action needs to be taken. I'll let you know what unfolds. In the newsroom, Katie Weiss, Fox 10 News.